the Kennedy Space Center in Florida to view the launch. But even though we couldn't host a lot of guests here, you can still join us through every step of this historic mission from wherever you are. We have a team dedicated to those of you following along on social media, and NASA's Tahira Allen is in Washington right now leading that effort. Hi, Tahira.
Hey, Marie. And hey, everyone out there. My name is Tahira Allen, and if you are one of the 4.9 million people tuning in on Wednesday, we are so glad to see you here again. If you weren't able to witness the pre-launch activities on Wednesday, you are in luck because I'm here to bring you all the excitement happening on social media around the nation. This is a big day for both NASA and SpaceX, and we are ready for you to be a part of it. We had a lot of people engaged on Wednesday, so we want to see if we can top that energy today. We will be sharing your photos and thoughts live on air during today's broadcast, so don't hold back and show us how you're getting ready for liftoff. You can join the conversation by using the hashtag LaunchAmerica on NASA's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll be monitoring that hashtag LaunchAmerica all day to highlight your social media posts throughout the show. You'll also be able to engage in social media polls during today's broadcast. And so even if you tuned in before, these are brand new polls, so just head on over to NASA's Twitter to cast those votes. So I know most of you are tuning in from home today, but that doesn't mean you can't get involved in the action. Check out NASA's Instagram and Facebook to find our Launch America augmented reality filters. They place you right at Kennedy Space Center, and you can actually see the Falcon 9 rocket lift off in a pair of sunglasses. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our first ever global NASA social. So head on over to NASA's Facebook to join the group. We've got all new social badges, a nice fresh photo here, some Q&As with some very special guests, and also behind-the-scenes tours of Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And not to mention, just an awesome community of people excited to witness this moment. So, just right here, in training, getting ready for that Launch America. So if you're just tuning in, to get us started, we have a poll for you on Twitter right now. We want to know what NASA logo you are sporting for today's launch. The iconic meatball or the iconic worm? Head on over to NASA's Twitter to cast those votes. And with that, let's head back to Lauren at Kennedy Space Center. Lauren?
Those are the doors at the back of the crew quarters building, and it's an area where family, friends, and members of the media can share one final moment with the crew before launch. Now, the walk through those doors has signaled the beginning of the march towards launch for every American mission to space since 1968. This is the moment that is immortalized on film and video for 400 different astronauts from Apollo all the way through Space Shuttle, serving 150 total missions, and soon, if the weather cooperates, mission number 151 with the first 2 commercial crew astronauts. These doors carry with them a legacy of purpose and action, and today they will announce to all of us the start of this, NASA's SpaceX Demo 2 mission.
And you saw just a little bit of my walkout from STS-129, my last mission. And I remember having my friends and family out there. There was my chemistry teacher that was in the crowd. She got me turned on to science and helped me actually become an astronaut. And I just remember her being in the crowd saying, "Go Leland!" And it was just such a memorable moment for me. Kind of got more rocket fuel in my veins, getting me ready for my mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just looking at a live picture outside of the building where we could see some of the folks gathered. We could see Doug and Bob's immediate families. There's a small contingent of media there. I mean, normally that place would be just kind of jam-packed with as many people as we could fit in there to capture that moment. We of course had to scale that back a little bit to maintain social distancing, but there's still a very excited group of people standing outside the building right now waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, it's so cool to see their families there and that they have that moment with them prior to getting inside of the Teslas. I mean, seeing that the last time we made that attempt was this incredibly emotional moment. I have no doubt it will also be emotional again. But yeah, that I can only imagine what's going through their heads, you know, in that moment when they're just waving goodbye for the last time before flying. I mean, Leland, like, were you nervous? Were you?
You know, at that moment we were, you know, we've been a little jovial in the suit up walkout, but I think at that moment we're thinking about our families, leaving our families, but then at the same time we're going to do this incredible thing for helping advance our civilization. We are working as a team, all the other teams now with SpaceX and NASA and people all around the world really, in recovery and all these things, helping us get to space so we can advance our civilization. And I think those moments are really heartfelt for us, that a team of people have helped us get to this point.
Absolutely. And we are looking at a live picture now of Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley walking down that hallway in the astronaut crew quarters. We just saw Doug wave at the screen, and they're just turning the corner, getting inside that elevator. And this, you can't see it from here, but there is a banner hanging there. You can kind of see it in the back. There's a banner hanging on the wall of the elevator with the signatures of all the people who worked on this mission. So it was really important for them to hang that up in there so Bob and Doug could see it.
Yeah, we see that, and we see all those signatures of people that have helped us through training, through fit check, through all of these moments and getting ready for this mission. And it feels like they're going along with us on the ride.
Absolutely. And as we wait for the crew to come downstairs to the first floor, we will pause to honor today's efforts with our national anthem. Kelly Clarkson just blew us away with a fantastic rendition Wednesday. Here she is again.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh, I got goosebumps listening to that. I mean, it doesn't get old. We heard it Wednesday, but I mean, I could hear that every day of the week.
She was blowing.
Yeah, amazing. That's a live look again at Launch Complex 39A. We are awaiting astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to walk out of the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building any minute now. So we're going to be ready to cut to that shot just as soon as we get the word that they're ready to walk out that door. Those doors, excuse me. Again, looking like it's been a beautiful start to the day here on Cape Canaveral, but we're keeping a close eye on weather because it looks a little iffy as we get later into the afternoon, closer to launch time, which again is 3:22 this afternoon.
It always blows me away every time I visit Florida is, 1 hour it's this beautiful, clear, gorgeous day, and then an hour later it's a thunderstorm.
You said it. Welcome to our world.
And then an hour later it's back to clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just similarly to last attempt, right? I mean, just 15, 20 minutes later.
I know, it hurt my soul because we have this instantaneous launch window. It's not like with shuttle where we could give it a couple more minutes because you had a 10-minute window. We have a single second to get this off the ground. So everything's got to be just right. The conditions all have to be green at that moment.
Again, Mother Nature showing she's in charge.
Absolutely. And we just heard we're about 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds now from seeing the crew walk out of those doors. So we are standing by to show you that moment live. There's a live look at the O&C walkout doors.
Marie, I think my STS-129 patch is still over top of the door. There's a bunch of patches up there unless they've removed them and put space station patches up there. But this is a very solemn moment for walkout from a storied legacy of Apollo and seeing Apollo astronauts walk out of these doors, and now we're getting back to U.S. astronauts launching from American soil, walking through these doors again. It's an incredible moment in the era of space travel.
And we saw some just beautiful moments when they walked out on Wednesday, and looking forward to seeing those again. I was perusing all of the different newspapers and stories online and just taking in all the photographs, and there the doors are opening.
Here they come.
And there they are, NASA astronauts.
Small crowd, but big cheers.
NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, Doug on the left, Bob on the right, waving to the crowd there to cheer them on. And there are their families right in front of them.
The virtual hugs, a very special moment. Fist bumps.
Are you going to be on good behavior? Are you going to listen to mommy and make her life easy?
You can hear them.
Ready? Let's light this candle. I agree. Launch America. Bye, guys.
Now they are getting into the Tesla Model X that's going to take them to the launch pad, being strapped into their seats.
Their suit techs are attaching their umbilicals, so integrated into the Teslas. These are not just the new Tesla you can just buy off the web or in a Tesla dealership. They've been outfitted with cooling units, and that white umbilical, similar to what you saw in the suit room, that umbilical is being connected to the suit to provide cooling air to the astronauts while they're on the way to the pad. And those Falcon wing doors are closing.
Super sleek.
A rapid departure from the Astro van.
Yes, I would say so.
And their flight surgeon is in the front seat in the passenger side, taking the journey along with them.
As I mentioned last time, we always think about the technology and the rockets, but this is what it's all about. The families coming together, supporting the families, us working together as a team to ensure they get up there safely and back home safely for their families.
I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but I did catch Bob telling his son to be good for mom, make her life easy. As a parent, I appreciate that.
See that prominent NASA meatball.
Now, as we watch the convoy begin their journey to Pad 39A, to our SpaceX and NASA family who over the years made this mission a reality and who have worked this launch campaign up to this point, we have you here in our thoughts.
And we wish every one of you could be here to see this up close. But we want you to be part of this journey regardless of where you call home and regardless of where you're watching from today. And so for the next few minutes, we are going to follow the convoy, but highlight those whose words and hands and thoughts built all that we see here today. We hope all of you watching can feel the pride each of these NASA and SpaceX team members has for this drive out to the pad.
This is Laura Segura from the Commercial Crew Program. We're so excited about this historical day. Congratulations on being a part of the very first mission for human spaceflight, commercial human spaceflight ever. We're behind you, Bob and Doug.
I'm Nicole from SpaceX in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Congratulations to SpaceX for hitting another major milestone, and safe travels to Bob and Doug.
Chief Engineer. We've got a lot of our launch vehicle team here to wish you a very wonderful and safe ride on a Falcon 9. Coming up to Demo 2. We're so excited for you. And launch America. It's time to launch. Let's go. Bye.
Hi, this is Perla from Hawthorne headquarters. We want to wish Bob and Doug a safe trip to the International Space Station. Go Dragon!
It's been 9 years in the making. This is such a historic time, and our team has worked so hard, and we're very excited to be here. Go Bob and Doug!
Hi, this is Sam from McGregor, Texas. Go Bob and Doug, go NASA, and go SpaceX.
Sean O'Rourke from Johnson Space Center. Bob and Doug, wishing you a great flight, and just want to tell you good luck.
Hi, I'm Dustin Kamak with NASA Kennedy's Communications and Public Engagement Directorate, and we all want to wish Bob and Doug safe travels and Godspeed. You are both an inspiration to us all. Now, let's get out there and launch America. Let's do it. Come on. Launch America.
I love seeing that group of people. I mean, we saw all those different groups of folks from NASA and SpaceX, from all different walks of life that have come together to make this happen. And that was just a small fraction of them. Look at that shot. That is so cool.
Wow. A little thumbs up from, I guess that's from Bob.
Yeah, and you know, it took a little bit of creativity to get this shot to happen. We have a chase vehicle that's on the other side of the road, which is of course shut down, so we could get a camera in there and follow them out. So we are really thankful to Kennedy Space Center Protective Forces for helping us make that happen, so we could see Bob and Doug all the way out to the launch pad.
My ride out was a little bit different than what they're experiencing in this Tesla, because we had the Astrovan had bench seats on each side, and we could look across at each other as we were driving out. And it was moments where we would tell some jokes and look, but sometimes we would just look at each other, and we had such gratitude for having this opportunity to launch into space and to think about all the people that had a hand in helping us get in that vehicle to drive out to the launch pad, to get ready for this momentous moment. And I think that's probably, even though they're sitting, side by side, I think they're probably thinking of the gratitude and the people that have helped them get here, so that they can be on the, the pointy end of the rocket, getting a chance to go up to space. It's just a momentous moment.
And they're listening to some tunes too, I heard, right, Lauren?
Yeah. There are at least 3 songs on their playlist that are super interesting. The first is AC/DC's Back in Black. You know that one.
Yeah, well, who doesn't?
Right. Another one that they're listening to is the elevator music from the Blues Brothers film, The Girl from Ipanema.
Oh,
Leland.
Okay.
Got another career.
That's enough.
Career
That's
number
enough.
3.
That's enough.
Right. NFL, astronaut, musician.
And of course, they are also listening to the Star Spangled Banner, the Army French Horns version.
Now, we didn't have tunes in the Astrovan.
No?
And I know that the Tesla has a really kicking stereo system. Is that still the custom stereo system that's in the Tesla?
I haven't been in this one, so I don't know what they're rocking, but I'm sure it's pretty cool.
And again, just for some perspective, they left the operations and checkout building just a minute ago, and so it's about a 9-mile drive from there to the launch pad. It takes them around 20 minutes, kind of depends on how quickly they're trucking.
The other thing sometimes that you hear as you're in the convoy is the helicopter, the Huey helicopter flying overhead, and it's kind of also, you're thinking military, you're thinking really important things, and it's a moment that also kind of solidifies in you that, hey, something big is about to happen, and that boom, 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 boom. The sound of that Huey is just in your head, and it feels good that all these people are helping you get there safely.
Yeah, I think we heard that actually coming by
We did.
this
Yeah.
building earlier because we were talking. And I was like, I hope that's what I think it is.
And it was pretty low because it was pretty loud.
You could feel it, too.
I did. I could feel it.
I took this drive yesterday in my rental car, and granted it wasn't in a Model X, and I'm not an astronaut, but driving to 39A, that same route, and trying to put myself, like imagine myself in that headspace, it was pretty awesome. I got to figure out how to get on Falcon 9.
Lauren, we're all astronauts. We're in space.
That is true.
You just got to get on the rocket.
Yeah, well, Leland, there's a big group of people that want you there.
I think we should, listen to them.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I think we should
Maybe we should make that a poll question.
Yeah. Oh, we should all maybe go to space. What do you think?
I am on board. I mean, not literally right now, but I would like to be on board.
Lauren, would you go with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, poll question.
And we have so many people watching online, sending well wishes to Bob and Doug. I mean, it started early this week as we were ramping up for Wednesday, and I feel like it's just been this buildup of momentum because, we were following along Wednesday, and now we're all following along Saturday, and we have people watching from home that hopefully don't have to work today and can really tune into what's going on here.
And we, as astronauts, truly appreciate all the support, all the social media feeds, and we think about, our families. We saw Megan and Karen there with their sons, wishing Doug and Bob well wishes and Godspeed as they head off in these Teslas to launch pad 39A that launched the Apollo astronauts. And I think, this is just one of those moments where everyone in this country is coming together to wish them well, to get them to space safely. It's a really great day.
And they are just now on Saturn Causeway. They just made that right turn onto Saturn Causeway. So to the right of the screen, that building is the Operations and Support Building 2. And on the left, it's out of view right now, is the Vehicle Assembly Building, that iconic building that processed the Space Shuttle and Saturn V rocket also.
That's where that mobile transporter used to take out the Apollo, Saturn V rockets and the Space Shuttle. It's just an incredible machine.
And where they're passing right now, I mean, if we were to run outside, we could wave because we are off to the right of your screen there at the press site where you see a group of media there. So from this point, there.
Tune to LCTV 1301 on Spectrum Cable for local talk shows, sports, entertainment, and special events in our communities. We also bring you the best gavel-to-gavel local government meetings and an opportunity for you to talk with your local officials live on TV. Program LCTV in your favorites button on your remote. Watch live or DVR LCTV channels 1301, 1302, and 1303. For the best in local programming, it's LCTV. For more information, go to www.lctv.net.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Becky Whittish, Chairman of the Niagara County Legislature. Thank you for joining us live once again on LCTV as we give you our Niagara County COVID-19 updates. We're also currently streaming live on lctv.net and 90.9 FM on your radio. Today I'm joined again by our Director of the Niagara County Department of Health, Dan Stapleton. Welcome back, Dan.
Thanks, Becky.
And why don't you just go right ahead and start us off with our daily updates.
Absolutely. Since last Friday, we have 45 new positive cases. That brings our total to 1,082 since the crisis began. We also have 306 people who are active cases. These are people who are positive. 14 of those are in the hospital, and the remaining are being followed at home by my staff. So far, more than 700 people have recovered from a positive diagnosis, and very happy to report we have no new deaths since last week. That's obviously very positive, and we hope that trend continues.
Absolutely, and you can see that our Niagara County heat map has been updated again today with those new numbers of positive cases. You can find that on niagaracounty.com. At the top of the page in the COVID-19 banner, there's a link, and that map will break down the positive cases that we've had to date by municipality, so you can see exactly what's happening in the towns and cities near you. Now, Dan, on the heat map, we see that Newfane now has been flat for the last several days. Where that was rising rapidly in a rural town. We knew there was an issue there. Can we assume at this point that the worst of the issues at the nursing home are behind us, or is it a mistake to make that assumption too soon?
Well, I think what we can say is the initial crisis has passed. You know, we're looking at 82% of that number, and now it's even higher, is from the Newfane Rehab Center. So we're hoping that we have that initial crisis, that we're past that, but we continue to worry about any population that is compromised conditions, that those people are especially vulnerable. That's why we can't let down on our guard. We need to make sure that people continue to do what they need to do. The 156 is a high number. Overwhelming majority is the rehab, but that doesn't mean that we can't take these social distancing and other guidelines serious, because we can't let our guard down.
We continue to watch that situation and monitor appropriately. Switching to testing for a moment, I can now tell you that according to the state COVID-19 tracker, we've had 13,803 Niagara County residents that have been tested so far. This is a large number. If you remember back in the early weeks of the pandemic, we were very frustrated in finding it so difficult to get enough testing here in Niagara County. So we've really watched these numbers rise rapidly in the last month or so as more testing sites have been available. And I want to continue to encourage our residents to go out and get tested. Now that tests are much more available, I believe we have 12 sites throughout Niagara County that are offering that. And you can find that list of sites again on our Niagara County webpage or the public health webpage as well. You'll see them all there on your screen. We know that the ability to get tested much easier, the guidelines for being eligible for testing much broader at this point than they were originally. Just make sure that you are calling those sites ahead of time to find out what their requirements are. Many of those testing sites require an appointment, possibly a prescription from your doctor, so you want to make sure you have those things in place without just showing up. Dan, we've been talking quite a bit over the last few weeks, or this past week especially, about the percent of positive results coming back, or essentially the infection rate of all of those that are tested, and that's been falling in Niagara County over time. The overall rate was about 8% on Friday, which is now down to 7.5% today. But over the last week or so, we're watching these daily rates, and they're hovering between 2 to 4%. And you can see that on the graph on our screen that we've put together. Can we feel good about that and what those numbers are showing now?
Absolutely. That's what we've been looking for all along. We knew that once we got enough testing kits available, the denominator would go down, and we knew that our rate would go down, but we're happy to report how quickly it's gone down. You look at the state average, which is 14.8%, excluding New York City. Ours is, we're reporting tomorrow, it'll be 7.4, so we're half of that. So that's exactly what we've been working for. We expect that to go down. The initial 20% we had, we knew that was 100% because of the fact that we didn't have adequate testing kits. Now we're getting testing kits to whatever sites want them. The 12 sites that you mentioned are very active. The NCCC site continues to be active. The NCCC site, people register or they call the number that we provide on our website, and they can go that afternoon or that morning and be tested. And we want to make sure that the people continue to take advantage of that, because That will allow us to get a true picture of what our overall county rate is, and we'll continue to push that as long as possible.
Right. So the early days when tests were hard to come by, we really were testing mostly individuals who were sick and showing symptoms. So it made sense that those positive tests were coming back at a higher rate. This is now showing us much more accurately where we are as we're testing more and more individuals with and without symptoms. That's good. So at the beginning of the pandemic, what we always talked about was flattening the curve. The concept was that we didn't want to overwhelm our hospitals and have too many sick individuals in the hospital all at the same time from COVID-19. We didn't want to overwhelm their capacity. The graph on the screen that you'll see next shows the Western New York hospitalization rates in blue and the ICU rate in yellow. And it really does show that it was a steep climb. Then we hit a plateau, and now we're coming back down the other side more slowly. What are your thoughts on the graph and information we're seeing there?
Well, hospital capacity has always been the top concern of us. Making sure that we can, the hospitals were going to be able to handle the surge, if you will. And luckily we didn't get the surge. And we're flattening the curve. Exactly what we wanted to happen is happening. We're flattening out that curve. We're not having these huge surges, but we'll continue to make sure that hospital capacity is open. The governor requires 30% hospital capacity to be available for a surge that could come. ICU beds have to have a 30% capacity for a surge that could happen. So we continue to make sure that we have enough ICU beds, make sure the hospital capacity is there. Hospital capacity, it changes on a daily basis. That's why it's important to look over a 3-day that kind of shows you what the trend line is. So we'll continue to look at that. We want to make sure people understand just because we haven't had that surge doesn't mean we can't spike back up. We're waiting to see, probably within the next few days, we'll be getting results from testing that have been done right after Memorial Day. Memorial Day, people out in public more, most people following the guidelines, which is extremely important. I'm watching right now to make sure we don't get an increase in the rates because of the loosening of some of those restrictions. Absolutely. These restrictions can happen as long as we follow the guidelines, and that continues to be the key.
Right, very important. Let's not undo all of the hard work that we've done and the sacrifices that we've made over these last many weeks now. Thank you so much, Dan, for the updates. As always, it's good to have you here and to have the explanations right from the expert.
Great to be here.
Thank you. As Dan said, all of our data is looking good here in Western New York. In fact, the governor spoke specifically about Western New York on his briefing this morning as we're nearing that second phase, or phase 2 reopening, potentially as soon as tomorrow. The governor said that Western New York's metrics are good. They're continuing to monitor that data, and that is music to many of our ears. We have been looking forward to getting into the next phase, and he said to expect an announcement later this afternoon in regards to Western New York and when we can actually go ahead with phase 2. So again, important to understand that we have not been given that 100% green light yet. We need to wait for that official word later this afternoon. I continue to meet daily with the Western New York Regional Control Room. And again, all of the data we're seeing is good. The metrics are heading in the right direction, and we don't see any reason that they wouldn't let us open in phase 2. Hopefully again tomorrow, but that data has gone on to the international team that the governor speaks about, who wants to take one final look at those numbers and make sure that we haven't missed anything important that they're considering as a red flag. So again, watch for that announcement later today from the governor regarding phase 2 in our region. Now, phase 2 will include offices, real estate, some in-store retail, vehicle sales, leases and rental, retail rental, repair and cleaning, commercial building management, hair salons, and barber shops. And Rich Zapp of LCTV, who's here helping us every time we broadcast, has put together some great graphics on phase 2 reopening. We're going to kind of run through those and give you a little bit more detail about the phase 2 businesses and what's involved. But all of these guidelines are available at NiagaraCountyBusiness.com under our red COVID-19 button. You can also find these on the state website, which is forward.ny.gov. Now, again, it's very important that if you're a business that's looking at reopening in phase 2, or if you are a business that has been open and considered essential throughout the pandemic, but the rest of your industry is now opening in phase 2, you need to make sure that you're looking at those websites and the requirements that are involved. Remember, you're going to have to complete a safety checklist online for the state and affirm that you have that safety plan in place and agree to follow it. You'll also want to make sure that you print that affirmation out along with your safety protocols, have it on hand at your business for not only your employees, but for the clientele who come in as well. You want to show that you have followed that procedure, that you are meeting all of the governor's mandates, and that is, again, mandatory for reopening. So please make sure that you're following all of those steps. Again, very important, if there is a non-compliance complaint that comes, someone thinks that you're open and you shouldn't be, or that you're not following those guidelines, you want to have that paperwork on hand to show anyone who's questioning how you're doing things. So very important. If you have any questions about those guidelines or how to follow them, where to find them, please get a hold of our Center for Economic Development from the county. They are there, they're available to answer your questions and happy to do so. And again, NiagaraCountyBusiness.com is their website, and they've put all of these important links right on that COVID-19 tab for you. Beyond reopening, they can also help direct you to the different government loan programs that are available and provide you with other helpful information that you might need. They really are a resource that's there for all of our local businesses. They are happy to help, and they should be able to move your question along if it's not something that they can help with. So please reach out to them. That number is on your screen, 278-8750. And just be in touch. They're there for you. Now, as we know, many of the festivals and fun events that happen during the summer have already been canceled at this point because of the uncertainty as we move forward this summer. And I want to let you know that Friday evening we received word from the Board of Directors of the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Niagara County, who has decided to cancel this year's Niagara County Fair. Certainly a disappointment to many, but not unexpected. We've seen those events cancel throughout the state over the last week or two, many of those announcements coming down. Now the board is still working on some creative events to have instead of the fair. In particular, they're working on a virtual auction for the livestock that's raised by the young men and women in place of the live auction that would normally take place at the fair. So check out their website as we go along throughout the summer. You'll probably find that there's some other great events that they're able to offer in place of the fair this year. And finally, I don't want to end the program, of course, without touching on the protests and riots that have taken place in regards to the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis this past weekend. We are all horrified, of course, by what we saw in those videos, including local law enforcement. I've had many conversations with our local law enforcement officers who tell me that what happened to George Floyd goes so far against all of their training, and they are outraged, much like the community members themselves. Last night there were protests held in Niagara Falls by the Niagara Falls Police Department. And I want to just commend all of the law enforcement officers who were out last night. Not only Niagara Falls Police Department, but the Sheriff's Department, other local agencies and state agencies that all chipped in to help out in case there were trouble. The city administration, Mayor Restaino, who was there speaking to the protesters. And most of all, the residents of Niagara County and Niagara Falls who were there and kept that protest peaceful. We have a right to protest in this country. We have a right to yell and scream and make our voices heard and make our feelings known, but we need to do it peacefully. And that's what happened in Niagara Falls. And I cannot say enough today about what I witnessed last night with that crowd and the way they were able to let everyone know why they were there and what they wanted and needing to be heard. And I watched our law enforcement agencies interact with them and talk to them and really want to learn from each other. And again, I want to thank all of you that were out there last night for keeping it a peaceful situation and not seeing some of the devastating riots and situations that were happening, not just across the state, but across the country. So again, thank you to everyone who was out last night. I think it's wonderful that you want your voices heard and that you're out there and telling everyone how you feel. but it's even more wonderful that you were able to do so peacefully. I also want to thank the Peacekeepers group from Niagara Falls who was there. That is exactly what they do. Their name is the Peacekeepers, and they were there to make sure that they could be that liaison between the residents and law enforcement and really helped in that situation. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you did last night for our community. Now, we know these are difficult times, not just COVID-19, but now we have these other situations going on as well, and there's been so much uncertainty and so much anger and so much emotion involved that we know people are struggling. We know people are dealing with depression and anxiety and worry over their finances and their health. So please, again, I remind you that the Niagara County Crisis Services Hotline is available for you free of charge 24/7. That's confidential. If you're struggling, if you have a family member or a friend who needs some additional support right now and you're not sure how to help, give that number a call. It's 716-285-3515. We are all in this together. We are all struggling in some way or another. That's not abnormal. So please, if you need help, reach out to them. If you joined us late today, you can catch us on demand again on lctv.net throughout the day. They will play us on their schedule as time allows, and there'll also be a link under the Niagara County Legislature tab on their on-demand page. We'll post that link for you as well on our Niagara County Facebook page so you can watch when you have time and get your updates. And at this point, we plan on being back with you live on Wednesday. Hopefully, again, we'll have some good announcements from the governor this afternoon, and I'll have more information to share with you on the Phase 2 reopening when I'm live again on Wednesday afternoon. For now, we ask you all to just continue to follow those distancing guidelines, wear your masks when you have to be out and about in public, but when you can, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Ghost, if we ever learn. Hot days, long nights, cold drinks are dripping on my favorite sweater. I hope you know that it's our turn. When we're young like this and we're dumb like this, having fun like this, it's alright.
Administrator of NASA, Bob Cabana, Director of the Kennedy Space Center, thank you both for joining us. And we're going to send it back to Marie in the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, Daryl and Mr. Bryden.